Over the hill means someone is past their prime, often referring to age or declining abilities, right? Let me just read something real fast here, and then you tell me if that statement is true. Sam Walton, 44. Henry Ford, 40. Ray Kroc, McDonald's, 52 years old. Adi Dassler, Adidas, 48 years old. Bob Parsons, GoDaddy, 47. Christian Dior, 41 years old. Bernie Marcus, Home Depot, 49. Bill Porter, E-Trade, 63. Sounds like those guys were well over the hill and had nothing left to do with their time except just burn out and die. Nope. After what we would consider over the hill, those guys created multi-billion dollar companies and their household names. When do you think over the hill is? What is the age? When is it official that you're over the hill? Today we're talking about that there is no hill. Over the hill is a mentality, it's a psychology, it's a belief system, and your best days are always still ahead, no matter what age you are. It's a matter of your beliefs. Does your body get older? Of course it does. It would be illogical to think that it doesn't age, but that doesn't mean anything. Okay, there's age involved. You have a new set of circumstances, which is true every single day of your life. So today we're going to be discussing how over the hill is just in your imagination, and the rest of your wonderful, beautiful, exciting life is ahead of you. And we're going to talk about how you can make that happen every single day. Sean, do you feel over the hill?
Man, when I think of over the hill, to me, it's like a recipe for disaster. I'm like, I will never be over the hill. Like, what does that actually mean? You can put a definition to it, you can put a meaning to it, but over the hill, you're only as old as you feel. And this is an exciting topic today that I'm really excited to dive deep on, because when I think of my age and then I think of somebody that's in their teens or 20s, I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, like I'm so much older than them, and they can do so much more because they have so much more time, and they have the technology, they have mentors and coaches and to speed up the process of success. But at the same time, I dial back and go, age brings wisdom, experience, keyword, experience,
Yes.
and perspective than younger people, which I lacked when I was in my teens and 20s, all those different things. So over the hill, absolutely not. I'll be laying it all on the playing field up until my deathbed. So if you're listening to this and you think that you're over the hill in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, hundreds, people are living to their 150, think again. Because when Ewan and I were at the High Rocks World Championship in Nice, France, a few months ago, there were so many people there from kids to teens, supporting their friends, their mom and dad, the husband and spouses, and even their grandparents. We were walking amongst a crowd of people, and age groups had went from 20s to 30s to 40s to 50s to 60s to 70s. We were walking by the skier, which is a machine, and we look over to our right and we wonder why there's over 75 people with videos and cameras. It's 6 ladies, all over the age of 70 years of age,
White hair.
at the High Rocks World Championship in Nice, France. I was mind blown. I look over there and I'm going, this lady is pulling harder, Ewan, on the ski erg than I was.
Yeah, she was whipping down. I remember that scene. It was all white hair, and these women were just getting after it. I'm like, 70? Yeah. Unbelievable.
So I immediately thought in my brain of my dad, my mom, all the individuals that are in my life that have made comments of, I'm over the hill, or I'm too old, or if I was your age, all these different comments that we hear, which, like you said, is a belief, is a story that we're telling ourselves. And if that's what you choose to believe, then that's how you're going to show up. That's how you're going to live your life. This lady clearly, along with half a dozen other ladies in their 70s, choose to believe that they are in their youngest years. They're not over the hill. And if they can do it, you listening to this can do anything that you put your mind to.
Do you remember the last time someone kind of looked at you and you're maybe speaking about a possibility of something they could do, and they look at you and say, "I can't do that." Like it's true. Do you get that a lot? Where you hear people a lot like, "I can't do it. I can't exercise. I can't start a new business." I feel like I see that a lot. Do you feel like you see that? It's just belief all around us that I can't do it.
We have a law in the Myers household, Ewan. The law is can't is not in our blood.
Mm.
Can't is not in our vocabulary. When I was going through the struggles, the failures, and trial and errors of life, of building a business, being a husband, being an athlete, being a coach, I had two roads to choose. One, I can choose, I can say those things, the words can't, because if I can't, then that's the identity. That's what I choose to believe is I can't do something. So I look for alternatives. I can, or maybe I'm not there yet, comma, yet.
Mm.
So I choose different words because words have so much power. They have so much meaning. Just like this title of the episode, I'm over the hill. I'm not who I used to be. I'm not as young as I used to be. I don't have the bones like I used to be. I don't have the muscles. Is that true? If you choose it to be true, then that's the story you're telling yourself. And it may be to a certain degree, you can't do the things that you used to do, but what if you spin that, flip the light switch, reframe the mindset, and look at it from a standpoint of, well, what if? Who would have thought that a 75-year-old lady could be at the world championship going through a grueling 2-hour race, but she did it? She may be hurting. She may be in pain. She may be thinking self-doubt or limiting belief. All these things anybody in their 30s, 40s, 50s that experiencing life in general go through. But at the end of the day, what I've learned at my age, in my late 30s, is that you're going to experience it whether you do it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So which version of you are you going to be satisfied with when it's your time to go? And that's what I ask myself in the mirror. Who are you going to be most proud of, Sean, when it's your time to go? When you're at the gates of heaven and God says, hey, here's your video. You chose to say can't. You chose to say limiting beliefs about yourself. You chose not to do the hard things. You chose to say you're over the hill. Or are you going to choose? You chose to do the hard things, even when you didn't think you could because you're over the hill because of your age, and you did it anyways. Both are painful, Ewan. But
Mm.
which one is going to allow you to share those experiences? We're talking about this on this podcast, and we don't even know this lady. Think about her family. Think
Yeah, she
about the
impacted us.
dynamics that this
Mm.
75-year-old lady at the world championship in Nice, going through this 2-hour grueling race, what she can share with her grandkids as a role model. So Over the Hill is just a story we're telling ourselves.
That's so true, man. I really wish I had planned this, but when you were talking there, it reminded me of a study that I read about. I think, and I'm going to put this on our social media page. I'm going to find that study. I think it was in the 2000s, they took a bunch of 80-year-olds and they put them in I don't want to say it was a setup for 2 weeks or 3 weeks where they set up the entire environment where these people were going to stay for 3 weeks. But it was all set up in the 50s when they were in their 30s. So they were 30-year-olds when they were in the 50s. So now they're in their 80s in the 2000s. So they take them back there and they do all these biological tests, blood work, psychological tests before the experiment. They put them in that environment. By the end of the period, I want to say it was 3 weeks, might have been longer. They said they saw a dramatic improvement. A number of them were off their medications. A number of them weren't using walking canes anymore, and a lot more of them were more lucid in their way of thinking because of the environment that they were put in the way their brains thought. They thought, "Oh, I'm 30 again." And so their bodies and minds started to show up with, they had TVs, they would like 50s TVs, and they'd have shows playing from the 50s, newspapers, they were rereading news from 50 years ago, and they felt young again. So it was all the mind set, it was all the mind shift, right? So they just moved themselves back into that space, and then the body out here started to act differently due to how the mind processed it. So I think what everything you're saying right there is it's no different. It's all how you perceive it in the mind. So instead of getting to 80, going back to being tricked into your 30s, well, why not get that mindset now in your 30s, 40s, and step into that going forward for the rest of your life to enjoy every single day going into your 80s.
Mm.
I think it was fascinating. So is it the placebo effect? I think that's what you might call that, but your environment dictates. I remember, well, think about your mom. She comes to the run club, right? That would never be happening if it wasn't there. I remember shortly after the High Rocks World Championships, I talked to my mom and dad back in Scotland every Sunday, and they're sitting there on the couch. We're sitting on our couch, and we're talking away. I'm just to kind of telling them the experience. And my dad looks over at my mom, and I'm telling them about the 80-year-olds that were competing, the 84-year-old man, world champion. And I'm saying, like, I'm going to train for the next 40 years of my life, and I could still be a world champion. And my dad looked over at my mom, kind of nudged her, and she's like, Susan, we could do a doubles together. And my mom gave him the death stare for no. But my dad, though, he had this feeling inside him that he could still do it. And then he even mentioned a few weeks back that he was talking about doing swimming a half marathon periodically over time, but it got his mind thinking because we were discussing it. His environment had changed. Now we're talking about older people still exercising, so that's always available. So everything you said, it's how can we install that in other people to start
Yeah.
thinking that way?
Did your father end up signing up for it?
I think my mom again said no, but here's the thing. I'm going to find something because it's too much too soon. And I think that's a big part of it. If you just jump in, which is absolutely a strategy, and some people can handle that, but some people need to just kind of warm themselves up, a little bit of belief.
Yeah.
I didn't stop. So I ran a sub 4 hour marathon when I was 42. Never ran a marathon before. Only 1 year before, less than 1 year before that, I couldn't run a mile. I kind of dipped my toe back in when I ran that first mile. I was exhausted. But then I said, oh, I really enjoyed that. I could do it. I want to do more. And so I think I just kind of warmed myself back up. I was to think about my progression all the way to where I am now. I kind of did just ease myself in. And so maybe that's what some people need. I did it by accident. You know, I've always worked out before, took some time off and came back to it. But if someone hadn't worked out in a long time, has that belief like I can't, which I had someone last week came up to me and said, you're getting fitter as you get older. What's that all about? Kind of laughing, joking. And I said, well, because I am getting fitter as I get older. And I said, anybody can do that. And he looked at me square in the face, had a drink in his hand. He was like, I cannot do that. And he believed it. Like it was stone cold. And all I saw there was like just a belief.
Yeah.
A belief just told me I can't, which all he would have to do is go put some shorts on, put that drink down, go up to his room, put some shorts on, some running shoes, and just go run, put one foot in front of the other. And now he's an exerciser. That's all he would have to do. But in his mind, impossibility.
I think another key point too, you and everything that we're saying, somebody listening to this may be going, yeah, that's great. But you know what? I've had a lot of failures in my life, Ewan and Sean. I've had a lot of failures. I've had a lot of trial and errors. I've been through a lot of trauma. I've been through a lot of ups and downs, and I'm just tired. I'm exhausted. I'm fatigued. And one of the things I can resonate so much with that because I too have had emotional pain. I've had failures. I've had setbacks. I've had sleepless nights, anxiety, all this. And I still, to a certain degree, have this in my life. I know how to manage it. I know how to keep moving the needle forward. But one of the things that I've learned is your past does not define your future.
Yes.
So when you acknowledge that fear, when I started acknowledging it, then I soon realized that I was not replicating the same mistakes, same failures, because I kept looking at it from a standpoint of, hey, this is not the end be all, but this is a part of the process. Once I reframed my belief, Ewan, to the the past Sean, the past version in his teens and 20s,
Mm.
to, you know what? No, I'm in my prime, in my 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I know 50s and 60-year-olds, shout out to Chris, that is still, I would consider
Yeah.
somebody in their prime, still somebody that's showing up every single day, working on becoming the best version of themselves. So you're not defined by the past success or failures. And so for me, I have been terminated multiple times in my career by 2 employers when I thought everything was going well, everything was going good. I was making income, I was making friends and relationships. And then the rug got pulled underneath me, and boom, you're fired. Multiple times. And then I opened up my first business in 2015, taking a leap of faith, not knowing if this was going to be another failure.
Mm.
But I just want to emphasize this. If you believe, you will achieve. But growth comes from learning, evolving, and adapting, and not just relying on the past wins. Sure, I can rely on the past wins, but that's not going to, listen, where the growth happens is through failure, is through putting yourself out there like the little old lady did at Nice, France. She could have, it could have took her 6 hours. They could have closed down the facility and it would have been dark in there. Into society, that would have been a failure. But for her, because she learned being in that environment, she evolved, she adapted, and she didn't just rely on the wins of getting her to where she was. I didn't rely on the wins of getting me to where I am today. I want to fail every single day that I go through life. I'm looking at what's my next failure. For instance, if you go back and listen to episode 1, I challenge you listening to this, go listen to episode 1, Ground Zero. It's going to be very tough getting through that episode.
I don't think so, man. I think a lot of people love that. Only the person who does that episode is not going to like it, and that's you.
So I wanted to drive that home because I don't care how old you are, it's just a number. That's it. You are not defined by your past success or failures. It's what you do, the here and the now, and where are you making progress and driving that needle and learning, evolving, and adapting, and not relying on those past failures and successes.
I can agree more, man. And, and we've talked about physical fitness, exercise, which I think that is the foundation. Because if you do those things, you end up having more energy to live the rest of your life, all the other things you want to pursue.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about business. All the names I mentioned earlier, those were all business names. So maybe someone is in good physical shape, but they have this belief that they cannot go build a business or they can't start again. And I think everything we're talking about applies to the same principles of all areas of life. It just is never, it's all a belief system. And it's all about, like you said, the leveling up process. It doesn't feel good. Most of the time you're in the most difficult part. Only once the dust has settled and you're near the peak or at the peak of that particular level do you realize, oh man, that was brutal. I'm at the top and it feels pretty good right now. I've got
Mm-hmm.
those in the bag.
Yes.
And then you turn around and guess what? There's another peak way up there and you're gonna have to climb that one. and it's going to be tough, and you're going to get to the top and think this is fantastic, but it takes time, energy, and effort to get to the top of that peak. So embracing the suck, learning to love the process, even though it's
Mhm.
difficult, no matter the outcome, because you might fail at the high rocks. Maybe you get an injury along the way and you don't get to complete it.
Yeah.
Or a marathon, you pull a hamstring, you can't finish it. Well, guess what? There's another marathon coming. So you learned your lesson. You go train, you go level up another weight until you come back and figure it out and do it all over again. I think we all have this do or die, yes or no, there's no alternative
It's a good
type
point.
mindset, myself included. I have to ask myself, where, just like we were talking about earlier, where's the blind spots that are preventing me from believing? Always belief, because we pursue what we believe, and having that progress, which is what keeps us going. It's the stagnation, the mindset of I'm done. That is the death. You've already died by that point if you're not progressing and trying.
And what I'm hearing you say, that's the power of the compound effect. Compound interest, compound effect, doing the small improvements over
Mm,
time lead to exponential growth. It's that
yes.
hockey stick. So by being 0.01% every single day, that compound effect will be incremental progress that will lead to what we call long-term results, that hockey stick. So, real quick story, and this can apply in fitness, career, mindset. These all bring life-changing outcomes. Over the last 3 years, I've had the honor of coaching an individual that trusted my ability as a leader and a mentor at, at one of the businesses. He came on board roughly 3 years ago, and not knowing who I really was, just knew that I was going to offer him an opportunity. This guy was working 2 jobs, still is to this day, because he has a goal in mind of to replace his income and just make sure that he can make sure that he is setting his family up really well. This guy's in his 40s. From the moment he joined my board for one of my businesses, I said, look, if you take one step, I'll take 2 steps. And this guy's in his 40s and he has 3 kids. He has a wife. He's tired. He's exhausted. He's fatigued. I told him from day one, consistency plus execution equals success. Whether it's fitness, career, or mindset, having that mindset will yield life-changing outcomes. Consistency plus execution equals success. And this individual showed up every single day, 0.01%, made the phone calls, the emails, was coachable, showed up when he didn't feel like it. And now this individual, fast forward almost 3 years, is one of our top team members at the companies. I look at him as a partner. I look at him for advice. He's been
Mm.
promoted to sales leader within the company, and he's about to make more money, or he has made more money than he's ever made his entire life. And on top of that, he is about to have his best month, personal best month of October of 2024. If that's over the hill, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what
give
to
me
tell
over
you
the
guys.
hill if that's what over the hill is. I'll take it. It makes me want to go out right now and go do something. What a brilliant story. And
Belief.
yeah, man. And that's got nothing to do with age. That was all about his belief and his actions.
He could have chose to easily say, you know what, I'm in my 40s. I've got kids. I've just got to work a 9 to 5, and I've just got to make a paycheck to keep a roof over my heads, pay the bills. No, he took a leap of faith. He believed in the mentoring, in the coaching. He trusted the process. He was coachable. If he would have looked at age and said, nope, I'm too tired, I'm too fatigued, I'm too exhausted, that would have been a limiting story. That would have been the identity that he perceived about himself, and he would still be at the restaurant working full time, barely making it. if he had that same mindset. So you listening to this, age is just a number. I don't care if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, or 80s, 90s, or 100. It doesn't matter. You have the power within you to go out there. You just have to believe it, and you can achieve it, and you can do anything in this world that you connect your mind to.
And that goes for you 25-year-olds too.
Yeah.
Man, 26, 30, 32. I remember when I hit 30, thought to myself, it's over. I'm old now. Oh, I'm not a millionaire by 30. Oh, might as well pack it in. It's a mindset. It's not an age.
Yeah.
25-year-olds thinking that. 20-year-old, I'll never be a professional sports player. Man, they're over the hill in their minds. It's game over. So it is a mindset. You listening to this, you're a human being with a brain. You're still breathing. Whatever your beliefs are, that's what you're going to get. It's not an overnight success story. Your beliefs can take time, but just do what is one little thing you can do to start your belief heading in the right direction, and start pursuing that. Hang around the right people with the same thoughts, same ideas, and it will happen. You will get out of wherever it is that you are and wherever you want to go. And I'm living, breathing proof. I'm the same. Sean would say the same thing.
Yeah.
On that note, you want to finish this up, Sean?
Yeah. I just want to leave our listeners with this, and I'm even talking to myself in the camera right now. We all have untapped potential. Yes, you listening to this has untapped potential that the world still needs to see. And so one of the things that I like to think about is, Sean, we're not looking in the rearview mirror here. We're not looking at our age. We're not looking at midlife crisis. We're not looking at, are we over the hill? I'm looking at, I choose to believe your best days are ahead. But here's the key ingredient. You have to take action. And so like Ewan said, what's one thing you're going to start today to work on becoming that best version of yourself, that 0.01% better version of yourself, and choose to align with that new identity, that new belief in who you want to become and who you need to become?
Level up and live.
Level up and live.